The Raptors fall to the Phoenix Suns 120 to 113. Welcome to Raptors Tonight. I'm Randy Urban, joined by Jevohn Shepherd, Paul Jones, and Sherman Hamilton. Sherman, despite falling behind big after that first quarter, Raptors made a game of it in that second half. What stood out to you about the way they battled tonight?
Well, I thought they showed a lot of, defensive intensity throughout the third quarter. I thought they did a good job not folding under the pressure of being on the road. Grayson Allen gets off to a big start from the three-point line, and the pressure of the Phoenix crowd is on them. And I thought they responded very well. They stayed poised. They made their presence felt by turning over Phoenix. They know that's their Achilles heel. They got some easy buckets in transition off those turnovers. And I thought they just kept on fighting. And to me, it showed the maturity you want to see from a young team on the road in a bad situation, to not lay down, not get steamrolled. I thought they focused on their game plan. They stayed together, 30 assists on the night. Nobody went rogue and tried to get it done by themselves. And I think collectively they bought into Darko's system and his idea of how to win this game. And it was good to see from a young group who you really could have seen a team falling apart in a situation like this.
Yeah, Jonesy, what did you see?
Same kind of things that Sherm was talking about. Listen, when they did make the adjustment on Grayson Allen, or the double teaming at least on Kevin Durant, and decided to stay home a little more, Grayson Allen wasn't getting those easy shots. Now, I thought the coaching staff did a nice job of adjusting. I wonder if they could have looked back at it, that they might have done it earlier. And it's, this is not a second guess, because we all know that sometimes if this is the game plan, you stick to it. You don't overreact because it doesn't work right away. And they stuck to it. Then they decided, no, it's time to change it now. And when they made the change, they got back in the game. And there was great resiliency. In the second half, there were 2 or 3 different times that they held, that they got the game to within a one-possession game, 3 points. And listen, I thought they were a little bit unlucky at times too, with a few calls or lack thereof that gave Phoenix a favorable whistle and maybe gave them some opportunities. So I like the fight. I like what I saw. It's too bad they didn't, have a little bit more luck earlier. The ball didn't bounce their way a little bit more.
Yeah, and Jevohn, when you hear Coach Pat Delaney talk at halftime, he was kind of talking about the effort on some of those closeouts and on the defense, especially on Grayson Allen. It must drive you nuts a little bit as a coach. You prepare so much, and then you just want them to perform or try harder. And then, they do it, when it's a little bit too little too late.
Yeah, I think, that you could talk about the effort on one end, but, that was also a byproduct. The shots that Grayson Allen were getting were wide open, right? It was a byproduct of the double team on Kevin Durant, whether it was off of the dribble or on the catch. And then he was just really moving the basketball. That second pass out, there was Grayson Allen. And it shouldn't be a surprise. You have to give up something. He shot the basketball just under 50% from the three-point line all season, right? And tonight he just caught fire there. I thought there was effort. I think in the second half, coming on the second half, when they did make that adjustment, I thought Abaji did a tremendous job of making it difficult on a guy like Kevin Durant. And then when he picked up his fourth foul, RJ picked up the slack there. But you're also dealing with a guy that's a prolific scorer in this league, and he just made things difficult. He made shots. He's a shot maker. But in terms of their effort, I thought defensively, and Sherm touched on it as well, the devil's in the detail, and they were a bit more intentional. They played with a bit more detail in the second half, and they paired that with the effort. You think about it, they forced 16 turnovers. So on that end, we're talking about a team that has Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Grayson Allen had himself a great game, and Nurk. So this is actually a good team if you talk about individual skill.
Yeah, on paper, certainly a mismatch. Sherman, what did you think of the defense on Kevin Durant? He had 35 again tonight, but I felt like they kind of made it tough for him at times.
Listen, this guy's an all-world player. He's going to go down as one of the greatest scorers to ever play this game. You don't stop Kevin Durant. That's just the bottom line. You try to work. You try to make him have to work to get his points. But he can make it look so effortless. He's so talented. He can score at all levels, and he can score over people. And his mind, in terms of being able to matriculate how to figure out defenses, to find the gaps, to get to his spots and elevate and get his shots off. He's one of the best to ever do it. So you're not going to stop him. And in fights like that, you're probably not going to win it one-on-one. You're probably not going to win it two-on-one. But as long as you make him work, you make him try, you make him have other guys get involved, then you got to consider it doing your job. And he was just masterful in that third quarter. The Raptors made plays and made buckets, and he just timely, again and again, just made efficient, tough buckets that kind of stymied their flow a bit. But that's what Kevin Durant has done his whole career. There's nothing to be surprised at. If you saw his last game against Denver and that overtime period, he was that dude. So it's no surprise that Kevin Durant did it in a game like this against the Raptors as well.
That's like trying to hold water in your hands, Randall. You can only do it for so long before it starts leaking. And, to go back to your question to Sherm, that's why the Raptors came out double teaming Kevin Durant. We know this guy can beat us. Let's see if somebody else can. And with poor rotations and not quite the verve and vigor in the rotations and the closeout, Grayson Allen gets going. Now you have to adjust and say, okay, well, let's not give Grayson Allen those. Let's play one-on-one. And now you're back to where you started. And Kevin Durant goes to town. So it was tough. It was tough.
To both your points, I think you also got to give Phoenix credit and the coaching staff credit, because they adjusted in his touches and his catches. It wasn't as stagnant. You didn't allow Toronto to set up their defense. He got a lot more into open court. And then they set a lot more screens for him. So he was on the move with a lot of that in the third quarter, especially. So it was a combination of things. Him being the scorer that he is, but they made adjustments as well in his attacks, in his positions, his catches.
Back to the Raptors, Sherm. Quickly, just awesome tonight. Career high 18 assists, 21 points as well. What was working for him?
Well, I thought he had a good feel on the game, and Darko challenged Emmanuel to be a bit more of a playmaker. Understand that you don't ever want a guy to not do what he's good at, which is scoring the basketball. So you still want to encourage that. But if you're going to be a lead guard, you got to know how to set the table. You got to know how to get people involved while still balancing your own offense. And I think Emmanuel's doing a great job of that. The last 4 games, 7 or more assists, first time in his career that he's done that. So we're seeing the growth from a playmaking perspective. And tonight was an example of a big leap for Emmanuel quickly, and still score the basketball and almost get a triple-double in a game where, being one of the leaders, he helped his team get back in this game and give themselves a chance to win against a very good Phoenix team. So I like what I'm seeing from Emmanuel. And I'll say this, with the guys out of the lineup, people like Emmanuel and RJ, even though they're young players, they're going to have to show some leadership. They're going to have to step into those roles and really help this team get through this tough stretch of the season. So it's good to see him growing right before our eyes, and it's really refreshing to see how he's recognizing how to get the game set up for teammates and how to do it himself as well.
Jonesy, Trent led the team in scoring with 30. What do you think is key for him to have more games like this?
Listen, for Gary, I think it's about seeing the ball go in the basket. It's just a feel with him. You can tell once he gets it going, he starts hunting his shot, and there's nothing wrong with that once he's making them. And he's not as he doesn't float as much when he seems to be in the groove. He's more purposeful with his cuts and drifting into, moving into spaces for kicks off the drive or off the ball being swung around from side to side. I always think with Gary, when those first couple of shots go down, you better look out. And if the first couple don't go down and he's missed 4 or 5 in a row, as soon as one goes through the bucket, now he's starting to look for it. He's starting to feel it. He's a guy that can catch fire in a hurry. I mean, the other night, not the New Orleans game, the one before that, I mean, he's got nothing going, and all of a sudden there are 3 or 4 threes in the second half just because he can light you up that quickly.
Jevohn, Chris Boucher got some minutes tonight. What did you think of the way he played?
I think you got exactly what you get from Chris Boucher, and you got energy, right? He came in, changed the game, a couple offensive rebounds. I think there was one in particular that I remember where he was on the floor and kicked it out, and Abaji got a straight line drive, catching a foul down the basket, down the lane. So I think with Chris Boucher, he's in a tough situation, but I commend him because he stepped into this game and he wasn't pouting, he wasn't sulking. but he came with a fire, came with an energy. And I think that's just what we've seen tonight is exactly what his game is, exactly who Chris Boucher is. And I do still think he's going to carve out minutes for himself with this team, especially with, the team being shorthanded down the stretch. But if he can come out, hustle, bring energy, can change the complexion of the game with his energy, then he's going to be in a good position to get himself back in the rotation with this team. But I like what I saw for the simple fact that he came in and had some fight, right? He wasn't too concerned with everything else, him not playing, and that's the important part.
Did you guys, switching gears real quick before we wrap it up, did you guys see the game-saving block by Anthony Edwards tonight?
Yeah. The rim almost got in the way, huh?
That was crazy. Here, we got it on the screen now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Listen, I know these guys. I know these guys are gonna crucify me, but when I seen that block, all I seen was Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And I know that the old heads don't want to hear that, but
no, that's your guy that wants to win, and that's a block that Jordan would make. That's a game-saving. Hey man, whatever it takes. So I'm not on you on that.
Sure, you with that?
No, I like the play. I mean, this is what you want to see from young players, getting after it on defensive end. And remember, he tweaked his ankle pretty good in this game. He came back in and he played a hell of a second half. And, we're used to Anthony doing that on the offensive end. Great highlight plays. But to see a guy give it on the defensive end like that and commit, I'm just glad he landed on somebody, because that fall could have been way worse if there wasn't a body underneath him.
Yeah, great stuff, guys. Going to stop it there. Next game for the Raptors, Saturday, 10 p.m. in Portland. Don't forget, Raptors Tonight will go live on YouTube shortly after the game. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.